Hello, hello, hello. Oop. Now you heard me double. It's fine though. Everything should work, I think. Hopefully, let me know if it does. Here you done, nice. Good stuff, good stuff. Good morning, gents, good morning. A bunch of you around already, always appreciate that. Thank you very much. Before we start the show, big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. They have the best mobile spot trading app in the game. You can also track your portfolio there and do a bunch of stuff, which is really nice. It's the best mobile app in my opinion. So, I mean, if you're into that, you should check them out. The links are in the description, and yeah, I appreciate their support. Don, will you finally admit you had a crush for Richard Hart? No. I mean, the entire topic is just, the entire Hex topic is just so boring to me because every time I say something, I just get bombarded and just like reported to Twitter and shadow banned over and over and over again. And I don't really care too much, right? If you want to buy that shit, you can buy it. It's your own choice, I guess. YouTube notification didn't work? That sucks. That does suck. Surf here was a solid 6 feet offshore and barreling this morning. Let's fucking go, man. That sounds nice. Where's that? I want to go. That's it. I don't think I'm going to go for travel in the next few months. I've been burnt out on traveling. Need some time at home. Notice that your sound is a bit lower than usual. We can see some difference on Friday's show. It's legitimately like I've listened to myself so many times now because people keep on saying that my sound is low. And on every single device that I own, and I own like a million devices, I sound completely normal. So I don't know. It's weird. South California? Nice, man. Yeah, America is not something I'm gonna see this year, but maybe next year. Your sound is fine and very nice. So yeah, let's get on with it, right? So the title is How to Bear Market, best TLDR version of what to do during a bear market is nothing. That's the stream. That's over. That's done. You can all go home now. But no, for real, like that's one of the best things you can do. Just wait it out, right? But we're all degens. We're all sitting in front of the computer looking at it. So we'll talk about some do's, some don'ts for trading in the bear market, investing in the bear market today, I think. If you have any questions in that regard, you can kind of like think of them and then throw them in later. So yeah, a few people complaining about the sound, a few people no. I have no fucking idea. It's like maybe I don't know what it is. I've asked friends as well, and everyone has been saying it's not a problem. So maybe there's like some 150 IQ trolls in the chat. I don't know. But yeah, let's start with like the technicals, even though they should be pretty quick, and then we can go over some other stuff. Yeah. In general, still no change. Which I mean, I'm starting to get bored of this chart because it's just so ugly, and it's also not really moving, right? But we're still below the macro range. This is the macro range. We're trading below it, right? That's bearish. You don't want to be macro bullish unless we trade above it again, or until we kind of hit support, whether that be 20k or 14k. I don't really mind, but like macro wise, it's just ugly. So yeah, we don't really have to talk about that too much. The weekly time frame looks pretty shitty as well. The thing is, like with these wicks, sometimes you get these bottom formations where you actually like start wicking up and up and up, and then you put in like a solid candle, and take out all these highs. But I don't think it makes much sense to speculate on that, just based on the fact that you're trading into resistance at that point. And that's just a shitty idea most of the time. Could happen that we just break through and go up. The thing is, the chances of that are pretty low. So it's like, yeah, if you have like a shitty hand in poker and you go in, you can win, right? But is it a good play? Usually it's not. Same here, right? Could you go all in here and then speculate on it going up and actually be right? Of course you could, right? I mean, there's always a chance for something to happen. It's just you want to maximize the chances for whatever you want to happen. You don't want to be just like randomly betting on the 10% off chance. That's at least how I think about these kind of like these markets, and in general about markets. Just makes sense to me that when it's pretty uncertain, you want to be betting small, right? And this is to the title. In bear markets, you generally want to be betting small if you're trading in general. Now, people might say, yeah, but you could short, and given it's in favor of the trend, right? And I mean, this is true. The trend is clearly down. You could be shorting, but the thing is, most people, and I mean, I'm pretty sure like 90% of the audience here, they're one, not experienced in shorting, and two, they only start shorting once price is actually down a lot. And given that bear markets are so illiquid, right? I mean, you can just look at the volumes, you can even look at Twitter participation, you can look at anything really. People aren't really trading that much, right, anymore. So the thinner liquidity is, and I mean, you can just prove that point that I'm about to make by just looking at any like shitcoin with tiny liquidity. The thinner liquidity is, the easier it is to push price up 10%, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? Best example for that, I mean, you don't even have to look to an altcoin, is the recent price actions that we've had. Like, just look at that. You have a move in 13 hours, 10% up, and then you have the same thing in the next day, 10% down. You have a walk up again, 5% down again. Then you have like another explosion to the upside, 6% to the downside again, right? This is what happens when the market is relatively illiquid and not that many people trade it, right? So why I'm saying this is, if you're shorting, right, those kind of moves can easily blow you out. Obviously also if you're longing, right? But during bear markets, most people kind of just discover the short button. And so the optimal kind of trading environment is actually during bull markets, not during bear markets, right? Liquidity is shit. The market is kind of predatory, whatever, however you pronounce it, right? So like you are getting hunted, right? And you can see this on smaller altcoins. If you trade them with leverage, you enter with too big of a size, you're gonna get hunted by bigger players, right? They're gonna just try to force you out of the trade, collect some of your money, and then do it all over and over again. So these kind of conditions aren't optimal to trade for most people. So what you want to be doing is you want to be spending less money on your trades, right? The reason why it's sometimes still a good idea to trade is because you want to keep your feet wet. You want to still be involved in the market somewhat, because if you're not, there's an easy chance to get too complacent and then miss out on the bottom, right? And this is why, I mean, you've seen me take a couple trades. I basically said when the coin launch, like when Coinbase launched on the traditional markets, in here, that like I'd expect the markets to be kind of shitty for the next 3 years, and I still traded a bunch, right? And that is because you can always be wrong, right? This could be the bottom. So like I bottom fish from time to time, right? Even though the market looks really shit and there's shitty kind of trade setups, from time to time when I see that sentiment and in general, like just the moves are getting too extreme, I take a stab at it. I did so in here, and I also did it down here, right? Now, I closed all of those trades relatively soon. I mean, these are held a little bit longer than the ones that I bought down here. But in general, right, so I tend to kind of get involved during these times where it gets extreme, when I think there's a chance that it's actually the bottom, just to kind of stay in the game. If that doesn't play out, right, and in most cases, I mean, as you can see, we've just been ranging, it doesn't. I just get out and wait for the next opportunity. And that could be at a higher price level, a lower price level, I don't really care, but I still look at the markets from time to time. And when it gets extreme, I want to be involved. Yeah, I know how someone wrote out predatory, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. But it's like, I know how to write it. I just don't know how to pronounce it. For our range still valid? This one? Not really, no. I mean, it's still decent, right? You can see that we found resistance there, but it's like, meh. At this point, you could add some, like you could add this, which has been decently accurate as well, right, on the 4 hour. But I don't really think you want to trust this too much. It's been too choppy, and yeah, I don't like it. Daily, same story. It's not really useful. That's why I'm only showing really the monthly and the weekly, because you can see how choppy this has been, and how unconstructive. There's not that much there. So, yeah. I still have a big ETH bag. I mean, it's already went down 50% and 10 red weekly candles, and it looks so bad, but do I really sell now? I mean, that's up to you. I can't help you with that. And that's like, there's something that I keep saying when the market is shit, right? Like, if you ask me after 10 red candles, like, what should I do with my ETH? It's really hard to answer that, right? Because if you remember back 8 weeks ago when we had this false breakout and I compared it to this and I was like, hey, yeah, this is pretty shit. You want to get out of the way, right? That was up here. That was at 3,000 something dollars, right? Now we're trading at almost half of it, and we're trading at support. I could tell you, yeah, this is still really shit, because that's my opinion, right? I look at this and I do not want to be involved, right? This looks complete and utter garbage. This is no bounce, no nothing. This is one of the weakest charts that we've had in a long, long time in crypto, right? So this is basically a slow bleed, and I mean, it doesn't feel like a slow bleed, but it's technically a slow bleed for crypto standards into legitimately just sideways. It's not even bouncing, right? We've had a bunch of green candles in the traditional markets. We had a little bit of a green week on Bitcoin, and ETH is doing nothing at all, right? So you would expect after a candle like this, or after like 2 more candles like this, just like to continue like it has been. Now that's obviously not a pretty picture, and I don't know if that's going to happen, and I don't want to tell you to sell your ETH at support, because we are at support, but would I want to be buying here? Definitely no. This is complete and utter garbage. And the reason why I say that is not only because of the trend being down and the bounces being shit, it's also that we're again in this area that we've been before, and you can see how the bounce has just been getting weaker and weaker. This is just not a good sign, in my opinion. So like ETH wise, I'm just not interested. But yeah, so what you do in a bear market is basically like you kind of like you sit at the sidelines, you look at the charts, and once stuff gets too extreme, you kind of put your feelers out, try your luck. There's a good chance that while stuff is dropping, right? And I mean, I can show this on like on an empty chart. Where did my mouse go? There it is. Oh, good times. When did I do that? That was pretty accurate. I must have drawn this on the stream. I didn't even know that I had this. It's accurate enough. Didn't quite get where I wanted it to, but accurate enough. Let's remove it. So that completely derailed me. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, with regards to like with regards to playing this, right? I thought I talked about like magician to the predictor. Yeah, I mean I drew it towards like 6K and it stopped at like 5K. So close enough, but not quite there. But yeah, so like with a chart like this, right? How you play it is basically you just buy the supports that haven't been tested yet, right? So in this instance, we've tested the support a bunch of times, as I told you. Now we haven't really tested these supports down here, right? So like 1.2K, if we should crash. This one we've tested before, but it's still like somewhat fresh. So I think like this area is somewhat safe, right? So if we kind of have like a pullback, or pullback isn't even the word anymore, given this just a trend down. But if you have like a crash, another one into this area, so what you can do is if sentiment gets extreme, and it's probably going to, you can take a stab at these kind of levels, see if it does V-bottom instantly, and if it doesn't, you just close as soon as you can. You always run the risk when you're taking these kind of trades for it to just disappear, right? And that's why bear market trading kind of sucks, because there's a good chance that you're going to lose money. And the thing is, in general, right, when you're trading this and when you're looking for bear market plays in the bottom or whatever, there's a good chance that you're going to lose money on the way down, right? So like you sold the confirmation of this overthrow, right? So you sold around 3.7K. It went down into support. Maybe you bought, maybe you didn't. It bounces a little bit. It went down. And let's say you bought the support and then you were like, okay, I think this is bullish, so I'm going to hold. And it goes up and then comes back to your entry, so you sell a little bit further down. You lose like 5%. Even though this kind of sucks as a trade, I mean, you should have taken profit higher up, but that is fine to do, right? And this is something that a lot of people are going to go through during bear markets. If you have like an underlying bullish bias and this goes to support, you buy it, maybe it bounces, comes back down, you lose another 5% down here, right? So you bought here, you sell maybe down here, and then it does the same thing. Eventually, you're going to be down like 15, 20, 25% on what you had after you sold here, right? But the thing is, you're going to be buying the bottom if you're doing this. And that's going to be worth more than those 20, 25%. Because like I see a bunch of people commenting all the time, right? How, yeah, during the bear market, you just have to sit on your hands. And that's true, right? But the thing is, like if you just sit on your hands and you ignore all the price action and you don't even try to kind of guess where the bottom could be, you're not going to find the bottom. And I mean, if you don't want to, if you're fine with it bouncing like 2, 3, 4x before you're actually convinced that the bottom is in, that's fine, right? That's completely fine. But there's a good chance that the guy that's cautiously testing the waters on the way down and loses like 5% here and there is going to outperform you on the way up massively, because that person is going to be positioned nicely and it's not going to let go, right? So let's say it does that, it comes back down, it does the same thing, you lost another 5%, and then it starts reversing. Now you've bought all of these bottoms in quotation marks, right? Pretty much every single fresh support that you've seen, any kind of capitulation candle, you're down 20, 25%. Your lowest buy is like 600. I'm not saying this is anywhere close to where it's going to bottom out or anything, but let's say you bought at 600, didn't get stopped out, and now it's on this way up, right? The confirmation trader is going to sit there and have to wait for this support to be reclaimed, right? So you bought 600, he's going to be buying 1.4, 1.5K. He's going to be living a relatively stress-free life because just bought the reclaim, and if it gets lost again, that person gets out, right? But you're sitting on a 2x at that point, right? Like you're sitting here, you bought 600, it's now at 1.4, 1.5. You lost 20-25% on the way down, but you're still up quite a bit. So that's kind of how I approach these things on the macro time frames. I'm not buying every single hour. I'm buying like every 3 months or something if I see something develop. And if I don't see, like if it doesn't go as I want it to, I just close it out and try 3 months afterwards again. And I mean, for me, I usually don't really lose too much money on the way down. If anything, I just lose the fees. Like I buy in and then it goes up and it goes back down again. I close break even, roughly lose some fees, lose some slippage. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at these things. Both versions are completely fine, right? You can just wait for reclaims. You can wait for positive momentum. But when it gets extreme, I'm involved. And it's just my way of trading these bear markets. Now, in general, like we don't even need to argue whether it's a bear market or not. I think at this point, everyone's gotten it. And we don't even need to argue that, I mean, technically speaking, this is just very, very bearish, right? So you kind of have it, you have to have it on a tight leash, right? So 1, trend is down, obviously. 2, we're trading below the trading range. And then 3, any kind of bounce that we get is caused by the S&P mostly, and we're underperforming heavily there, right? So big green candle into resistance, Bitcoin, tiny green candle also in resistance, got rejected fully. So like we're in a shitty situation here in the crypto markets. And honestly, I don't expect that to reverse anytime soon. I could be wrong on that front. In this instance, I'm going to be the guy that waits for momentum and for reclaims. And the only reason for that is that we're so close to resistance, right? So in the examples that I showed you earlier, we're trading like at 600 ETH, like roughly, like let's say structure-wise, it's roughly down here at like 17K or something in the middle of nowhere. At that point, it gets attractive to buy again because resistance is so far away, right? Because the more we drop here, there's not going to be there's no resistance and no support in this area, right? This is all just empty. And if we go down, it's going to be empty as well, right? So in here, there's just nothing. And then the further it goes down, the more attractive that buy gets. Just based on the fact that there's so much room to go, right? And whenever you have this empty space, you get like really, really good trades. And there's no empty space right now, so I don't want to be the guy that jumps in head first. I tried, and we didn't really get the momentum I was looking for, and then I cut it. And now we're like chilling just a tiny bit below resistance, and I can wait those 10-15%. I don't really care. Like 10-15% in a market like this is nothing, right? So, yeah. All right, so far, hunker down and learn and prepare for the next bull. Yeah, kind of, but like what I'm trying to say, right? That's like one of the best things you can do. But like I said, there's still trades to be had. It's just it's gonna be soul crushing if you're on the bull side of things. The bear side of things, I'm pretty sure like 90% of the people that are starting to short this bear market are going to lose all their money, right? On the bull side, it's going to be far less. It's just how it goes. Like the bears usually just lose it all. Getting too greedy, whatever. I've seen it a million times. That's why I usually tell people just to not short, because 90-95% of people are just not made for it. It's just how it is. But yeah, you want to keep trying, and then you're going to lose a bunch of money on the way down, most likely. And the reason why I say this, right, I've gone through bear markets before, and I've been the guy that shorted a bunch during a bear market, namely this one in 2017, 2018. And I was actually like, I had this nailed to a T, right? This was just my market. I had the right kind of framework. I was like, we're getting distribution through altcoins. I had everything right? My entire thesis was correct. And I expected this to break down. It did break down, and then I bought. But my entire mentality of shorting everything and just being bearish during the 20k to 6k move made me close my bottom buys much sooner than other people, right? That were just sitting on the sideline. So I know a bunch of people that actually not necessarily on Bitcoin. Bitcoin I played decently well even during the upturns. But on altcoins and on a bunch of other stuff, people actually outperformed me by just being a little bit more positive, right? So even when I'm telling you the short side of things, just not necessarily the best one, it's not only because if you're right, and I was right, and I made a bunch of money, you're going to have to get rid of that kind of mentality again of shorting the scams, basically, because otherwise you're just not going to be positioned well for the upswing. And I missed out on a bunch of the upswing just based on my mentality. Could have made similar money by similar money that I was making by shorting. I could have made by just being a little bit more chill and then going from there. Excuse me for a second. I don't want to dox anything. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's the thing, right? You kind of have to be nimble and not get too bad-hearted. And someone in chat actually asked a question like that, which was basically year after year. Do you think everything is a scam? Year after year, it just kind of does something like this. I didn't find the question again, but there's a lot of scams in this market, yes, but I don't think everything is a scam. It's just there's a lot of scams. Long-term wise, I'm not as convinced as other people are in crypto, right? But I'm pretty convinced that Bitcoin is going to trade higher than 30k again. It's going to trade higher than 60k again as well, in my opinion. Doesn't have to mean that crypto is going to overtake the world, in my opinion. But I think there's going to be higher prices again. Be that from 13k or 20k or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe from here, right? But I think in general, we're going to see higher prices. So holders are probably going to make more money than the bears that are trying to short here at 30k, even if it goes to 20 or 14k, because afterwards, I think it's going to go up. When look at the S&P, I mean, we can look at the S&P. Same kind of deal as Bitcoin. Trend clearly down, retesting resistance. Looks bullish. Looks more bullish than crypto does. Still looks bearish to me. I don't really see a reason why, from a market structure standpoint, you'd want to get involved in this. Just chill, see how it goes, right? If we reclaim resistances, maybe into the next resistance is a play, and I wouldn't play this on the S&P, as stupid as that sounds. I mean, this has bitten me in the butt before because I took the same, I was bullish on the S&P down here. It rallied up and I bought Bitcoin and ended up not making money while I could have made a bunch of money in the traditional markets. But I'm probably still going to do the same thing where if we break resistance, I'm just going to buy Bitcoin again. But right now, it just doesn't look too good. So, ETH merge was today and had no effect. You guys are misunderstanding. The testnet was today. The ETH merge testnet was today. And that's obviously not going to have too much of an effect. Hey Don, I'm going to bed, but thanks for all those streams. They have been really useful and comforting. Nice to hear that, mate. Appreciate it. Have a good night. See you soon. Don, why are you using candle closes instead of wicks? I actually explained this last stream, but the reason is basically you have a candle. I mean, you can use the same example. I'll quickly go over it. When markets are illiquid, you can just have stupid wicks, one. and they can stop anywhere where they want to, basically, right? So like some guy sells 5 million of XRP, you're gonna get a wick that goes down like way beyond any support. It's not necessarily gonna stop at the support level. It's just gonna stop wherever someone randomly has enough to buy, and then yeah, it's gonna revert back to like an area where it's been traded more, and that's usually the candle body. So you have the candle body where most of the trading is done, and then you have like the extremes where the wick is, where almost none of the trading is done. So it's just more accurate in my opinion, but you can use both. I know sometimes use both, but most of the time I'm not really interested in, okay, who sold like 2 million here, 4 or 5 million there, and at what kind of level did it, or like where did it go, because it could stop anywhere really. So yeah. With regards to altcoins, everything's been taking a shit. I mean, ETH BTC, funnily enough, looks really horrible in my opinion. Like this is a clean head and shoulders. And usually I wouldn't give too much craps about it, but I mean, we had the head and shoulders here, right? They're called the bottom-ish, right? So inverse head and shoulders here, went up, head and shoulders here. Chances are it's gonna go down. I don't know where to, maybe 0.045, but that's ETH, right? And that's the most, funnily enough, it's like one of the better bullish coins in comparison to other stuff. Litecoin's been taking a dump. XMR, like that's actually still been strong. I've been talking about this for a while. I've sold that position actually. I mean, could go up, could go down. For me, it's just like I saw it as like a strength, like as a play into strength. Basically, I saw that it was outperforming everything. So it stopped doing that, so I just closed it. Yeah, the other altcoins, right? I mean, you can just go throughout the list. Even like the DeFi stuff is just completely crashing, right? Let's actually look at something that has history, so it makes more sense. Yeah, fuck that. That's a shitty coin. Let's look at AVAX. So AVAX closed below support. Looks hideous. And do you guys remember this? We talked about this on stream actually, where I was like, what you can do is you can play this range for all eternity until it stops working, right? And it worked a lot of times, right? And then you got here a bearish retest. So whenever you see this and you're playing a range and the coin starts losing the range and goes back into it, that's where you get the fuck out, right? If you didn't on the breakdown already. And this just completely capitulated and is down a shitload now, right? AVAX down 69% against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is down, so if you go to AVAX USD, this is absolute carnage, right? This is down 85%. And where does it get interesting again from like a technical perspective? And in my opinion, gets like interesting again at $10-ish, right? So all the way down here. And I think there's a world in which we get something like this. And then you either play out bearishly and then just fuck off to basically nothing, or you actually just walk back up. But I think that's the most likely course of action. Even if it goes sideways from here and then dumps, doesn't really change the structure all too much, right? Or even if it bounces and then goes down and then comes back up, makes no difference whatsoever. I think in general, like this looks like it wants to go lower. All the bullishness has broken, and there was actually like a bunch of signs for it too, right? So I showed you the BTC chart. There was pretty clear that the range broke, and the same thing is true here. You have like, I look at this weekly, right? The moment you actually just lost support, there was nothing holding it anymore, and then it just went straight down from there. So these kind of breakdowns or breakouts, like especially I think this was the best indication, even though It's kind of like, it's breakout, yay, and then it falls back into range. We've talked about this setup a million times. This is where you get the fuck out, right? And this is something, I mean, I guess now that you've seen it over, like all over Bitcoin, ETH, and AVAX and Solana, you're probably going to take it more seriously. But whenever you have a range, you break out and you come back into it. That's where you have to get the fuck out. Like most of the time, it's going to play out like this. Sometimes it's going to come back up and then just run. But in those instances, you can just get back in when it gets back up. And there's few very, very rare exceptions where it actually just does something like this, where it double breaks out. But those are so rare, it's worth taking these seriously anyway. So obviously, you see this, it doesn't have to play out every single time, but it plays out very, very often, right? So false breakout into a range loss equals death most of the time. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one, I think, but it's not interesting at $25 to me. Even the only way it could be is if it kind of goes into range here for like months and months, and then maybe, but not right now. Look at BNB. Do you think we'll get $45 next big support? Oh, this is so ugly. Like when you have these kind of charts, like, I mean, there's not really much that TA can do for you, because this is a joke, right? If you're targeting down here, I think that's a joke. That's basically the death of crypto, right? If you're targeting that low. So I think if you're like a bear on this kind of chart, right? And same thing here actually that we had in AVAX, where it breaks out of the range, comes back into it, and then absolutely vanishes, right? But when you have a chart like this with nothing in between here and here, that doesn't mean it has to go all the way down here. I don't think it's going to 37. That's too low, in my opinion. Could be, obviously, bear markets are bad, yada yada, but if Binance goes like 95% down, I'd just be very, very surprised. I'm not expecting that. So if you have this kind of chart, what you'd expect to happen, right, in a really, really bad bear market is it goes down, build some structure here, and then you want to get back in and hope for an upswing, right? So if BNB like drops to 100 or like 75 or something, I'm gonna get involved, hoping for upside, right? For a range reclaim. I'm not targeting all that low. It has some daily levels, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if you have to zoom out all the way, so you can't even, like, look at this, right? When you have to zoom out all the way like this, so you can barely see the individual candles, I don't think these are too relevant anymore. At this point, you just do this, and you're like, you have your range low here, you have your range high here. Those have both been excellent. You expect something to happen in here that is actually going to be bullish. Like this is where it's discounted, right? And above here, that's where it's expensive. This is the range, the macro range. So you can either do business at the lows, you can get it cheap down here, and I think that's a better bet than the low, because the low has been tested twice already. I think if it gets tested a third time, maybe it bounces again. But ultimately, I'd expect it to be like discounted at that point, and then you can make the play towards the range high again. That's how I would want to play it anyway. And BNB is one of the ones that I would want to play. I think it's one of the safer choices. But yeah, just because there's supports and whatever doesn't mean it has to go anywhere. But for me, it doesn't really make much sense to be like bullish altcoins while my Bitcoin outlook is bad, right? So in general, how you can play like the upswings is, let's say Bitcoin breaks down, right? And the only reason why I'm saying that is because it's easier to draw out like a bullish scenario, whatever. Let's say this breaks out down, right? Goes towards 20K. And then I see price action that I like to see. I see like complete and utter capitulation. Maybe the S&P starts looking strong again, whatever, right? Let's say 20K is that support, and I see a bunch of strength creep into Bitcoin. Then I would go to the altcoin of my choice and buy a bunch alongside my Bitcoin buys, right? Because I want to be somewhat positioned, and I think there's a good chance that at some point during the Bitcoin rally, the altcoins would outperform. There's a chance that Bitcoin goes up and the altcoins don't really get too much from it on the way up. But on the last legs of the Bitcoin journey into like resistance or whatever, usually altcoins catch back up. So you can either like gamble on that, or you just get an early position when you think that both are going to go up together. So I don't really want to just be like just buying Bitcoin at the lows. If I think Bitcoin has bottomed, I want to be buying a bunch of Bitcoin and a little bit of altcoins. Where would be a good area to bid Solana? Or the Solana, the thing is with Solana, right? If I talk about this, it's gonna be me and Dogecoin all over again, where I could see myself nail to bottom, but not get enough fills. But yeah, for me, I think like around $8 to $10 is like a good area to look for Solana if everything plays out bearish. Obviously, there's a world in which this just goes back up, right? Let's say this is an accumulation range, it comes back up, just rallies forever. I'm not saying it has to guaranteed go to $8, $9, $10, but I think, I mean, there's good reason to believe that it's gonna go further down, just based on the trend, based on how it looks. For me, this makes so comparing Solana to ETH, and I did this last week on some stream. So ETH in 2018 and Solana now, it just makes a lot of sense. And ETH went down, I can quickly show you, went down 95%, where like if Solana goes down 95%, where is that going to be? Roughly in the $9, $10 range. So this might be a little bit too extreme. I think it is, probably. We could do something like this. Whatever, I'll just leave it on for now. But I think like $9, $10 is gonna be a good range. And it doesn't have to happen, obviously. Like me talking about these targets doesn't mean they're going to come in. So like if you're a Solana bag holder, you bought at 300, you're now selling at 40 because I'm saying I could see 10 happen. Don't blame me if it goes up afterwards. It's just like I don't have a position. I'd love to buy at $9 or $10 is all I'm saying. Is it still worth to play the range from 25 to 47? I think you could, yeah. I think there's probably a play there. It's a really risky play though, because what you're basically doing, right? And you look at this, it's basically what you're doing, right? If you're buying the range low here, is you're buying the right shoulder of a Head and Shoulders. And if you miss time your exit, you're gonna be in a world of pain. So you gotta kind of factor that in. But yeah, I think it's a decent play. Buying $25, I think, is also fine. It's a 2x, right? It's not the worst in the world. So yeah, that's that. We talked a bunch about altcoins, about Bitcoin. Any questions, anything that you want to ask? I told you guys to think about something at the start of the show. If you come up with something cool, maybe I'll give you a compliment for it. I don't know. I offer a cookie, but I don't have any. So yeah, a compliment has to do. But yeah, do you have any questions? Not necessarily about coins, but about like how to approach a bear market, all that kind of jazz. Can you make a stream where you show your old trades and reasons you took them? I mean, you can just go. I mean, I guess we could do that at some point. It's a lot of preparation, though. Maybe. I don't know if I want to go through all of that, but I can think about it. I don't think it's too interesting. Lost like 2/3 of portfolio from all-time high. How bad is that? I mean, that's pretty bad. My condolences. But then again, like the market's down 80%, so you're down less, I guess. So at least something. Did you scalp last bear market? Yes, I did. I did trade like 24/7 last bear market. Where would you say we are in terms of last cycle, late 2018? I think we're somewhere either here or at best here. I don't think we're anywhere close to this. But could be wrong. I think like there's a good chance that we're gonna be bearish or ranging for another year or two. No trade log on Excel. There's some stuff that I just don't want to share, right? So I'd have to just look through the public trades that I've taken and share those. And that's like a lot of work because then I have to scroll through Twitter, look at the platforms where I executed, look at roughly where I entered, all that kind of stuff. Do narratives even matter in a bear market? Not really, no. And that's the thing, right? If you're buying into like a hype event or whatever, you're most likely like, let's say a coin goes down and it puts in a green candle and it's because of good news and we're in a bear market. If you buy, you most likely exit with liquidity and people just dump into you. And the best example for that is Dogecoin. On the lower time frames, you can literally see where Elon's been tweeting about Dogecoin, right? And you go all the way back, and most of these are just an Elon tweet where people just dump into you. And then you buy into that, you're immediately down like 30, 40, 50%. What made you change your bias towards more bearish instead of gigabull? So I was bullish. And I mean, this is how I work, right? I get a setup, I'm really bullish because I mean, like I get a setup when I take a trade, I have to be really bullish, otherwise I wouldn't be holding it, right? And before we closed this monthly, I was like, there's a chance that we close the monthly above resistance. And in that case, the way is clear basically to like much higher prices. It's an unlikely setup, but given we've been down so much and sentiment was so low, I just thought there was a chance that would play out, so I was bullish. And then a few days before we closed this candle, I was like, okay, the timing's just not right. And then I closed my trade and now I'm back bearish. It's just like whenever I get these setups, right, and it's going to be the same here. Like let's say we drop to 14K, right, and we trade at like 12. I'm going to be giga bullish again. And I'm going to play the same setup, which is basically hoping that we're gonna close back up above support. It's just how I play these higher time frames, right? Obviously doesn't mean we have to go to 14K, but if we do, right, you're obviously not gonna find necessarily support at 14K. So like this drops, it doesn't just automatically stops the wick at 14K. There's a good chance that if it goes to 14K, it's gonna wick below 14K. And I'm gonna try to buy as low below 14K as I can, and then bet on us closing above support again, so I can take it into the next resistance, wherever that may be, and have like a much better entry than buying 14K, seeing it go to 10K, shitting my pants while doing so. You know, like there's just a setup, and I love these kind of setups. We've had them plenty of times, right? In here. We had it where it's like you have clear support, you undercut it anywhere below that that support you bought before the monthly close has been like an excellent buy, obviously, right? And that has happened again and again and again. So that's just kind of the setup. So if you had support in here somewhere, I'd obviously do the same thing. So that's why like I flipped from bullish to bearish. We closed below support, turning it into resistance. So, I mean, now it just looks shit. but there was a chance to turn it around. Do you think 14K is the target? No, I think the most likely scenario for this, right, for this to play out is actually a bleed down into a range here between 20K and 24K-ish, where we go sideways and do the same thing that we did down here, where it starts like rounding out and then goes back up. But I think that could take a while. That could take like a year, it could take 2 years. I think we're in a pretty shitty macro situation. So even if it doesn't drop anymore, I think it could easily go sideways for a long time. So would you take the 37K setup? As in, like, if we close above 37K, yeah, I would. I'd be in the trade before it actually closes above the monthly, just based on the weekly. But yeah, if we close back over 37K, I'm gonna be in the trade on the long side. And if you want to, like, someone asked, how do I buy altcoins with not much price history when everything looks like this? And the way you do it is basically you buy the altcoin when you think Bitcoin's at high time frame support and you think Bitcoin's going to go up. So you just ignore the altcoin chart. You like the altcoin, you want to buy it, you wait for Bitcoin to look good, and you just buy it. That's the way to do it, in my opinion, anyway. What do you think about the Chainlink pump? I talked about news and stuff in the bear market just seconds ago, right? And how you're like exit liquidity most of the time. This isn't necessarily different. That said, right, this shit's down so much. Link BTC was down 90% almost. Link USD was just down horrendous. Like, this is legitimately down 90%, Link USD. So, I mean, does this have me bullish? No, right? If Bitcoin turns around and goes back down again, I think Link is probably going to halve again. So you're probably going to be exit liquidity in a sense. But it's a nice candle. I think it's gonna, like, it's heading into resistance now. Which, I mean, if I bought before the news or into the news, I'd probably take profits at 10 and then, or like around 10, and then hope it comes back up again and then reestablish if you're really bullish. Maybe Link does another bear market hero thing where it just walks back up. I just don't think so, honestly. But yeah, there you go. Hope that helped somewhat. I know the markets are I'm already losing it. I know the markets are boring, not bearish. I mean, they're both, but yeah, we're trying to make the best of it. Trying to, like, put some educational stuff in there, keep it lighthearted. Hope that you enjoyed it anyway. Really appreciate you guys coming by, and yeah, I think that's more than plenty for today. So yeah, big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Also appreciate you guys for coming by. Obviously, you're the best. Even during the bear market, you listen to my ramblings. And I mean, today it's been like a weird day, so I'm all over the place. But appreciate you guys coming by. Appreciate the company, and we'll see each other on Friday. So yeah, have a nice day, and or evening or morning or whatever. Could be anything really, and we'll see each other soon. Bye bye.